So Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks just banned somebody from appearing on the show. It's another left-wing contributor that had been on the Young Turks like a lot, had like filled in as a guest host and stuff, and he just banned her. And it's like kind of a big drama thing. And it's fascinating from kind of like a moral perspective. Like, how did Cenk justify this decision? Listen to this.
Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us at TYT to take her podcast, Habituation Room, off the network.
I don't know that that's true, but okay.
And we happily agreed to that. And today, I'm going a little further, and I'm going to take Francesca off the network entirely. So you won't see her on any of the TYT shows going forward.
All right, now this is complicated because he said she wanted to take her stuff off of their network. The way that their system works is they have like podcasts and they have Facebook pages and stuff, and they upload like Francesca's videos, for example, to their Facebook page, and it does really well, and she gets a percentage of that money or whatever, right? That's generally how their system works. But Cenk has taken like a hard right shift with Anna, who's full-blown like right-wing now. No questions about that. And Francesca said, I don't want my shows running on your network anymore. So in response, Cenk says, you're not allowed to be on any of our shows. That's not just removing her from their channel, because they cover a lot more than just TYT, the channel. They encompass other shows too, like the Damage Report with John Ideological. Is that who it is? The Majority Report was once part of the TYT network. David Pakman was once part of it. Kyle Kalinsky of Secular Talk was once part of the TYT network. She wouldn't be able to be on any of those shows if Cenk had his way, basically. That's what he's doing right now. He's banning her from basically all of left-wing YouTube or content creation, Twitter, TikTok, anything, which is insane. So asking to have your podcast taken from the network and parting ways in a business kind of context is very different from banning somebody from being on any of these shows. By the way, the algorithm is hitting me hard right now, completely ignoring me. So I'd appreciate if you watch to the end of the video. Having increased watch time as a percentage and a raw number is what pushes the video further. Also check out my books, owenmorgan.com. All right, back to the video. By the way, I watched this whole video, if you're curious, on my Unfiltered channel.
Francesca, it's about TYT, our community, and what we stand for. And so we're for open minds and open hearts. And so I want all of you to know that, and I want to build a community that believes in that and invites people in that believe in the same things. And
look, the problem is that I totally agree that it's worth at least considering building a bridge with Republicans, certainly disenfranchised Republicans who feel they don't have a voice in the party now that, MAGA's taken it over. Or hell, you know what, even maybe building a bridge with MAGA in a very limited capacity to try to accomplish mutual goals. But what mutual goals could we possibly have with MAGA, right? I get that. I get that concept. The problem is that that's not what Cenk is doing. He is taking on the MAGA perspective in a lot of ways, which we'll see in a second. And that is leading to like complete brain rot. It's leading to him coming up with absolutely wild, bizarre conclusions that make absolutely no sense. And it's leading to him like pushing his audience to the right.
And by the way, if you don't believe in the same things and you say, no, I have a strict ideology and I have no open mind about that, no problem.
I don't know anybody who says that. They may have this hard line where, no, I believe human rights are like a fundamental piece and I am not compromising on that. But everybody, considers these moral issues.
Tons of shows out there for you guys. So first of all, we've had some disagreements. I certainly have with some of the far left, but I think they've been relatively small. But if you think that they've been large, no problem. So they've been around the issue of crime. Did crime rise between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact, it did.
2019 to 2023? I don't know what this bizarre culture war thing is that he's referring to right now. Did it? I don't have any idea. I mean, that was around COVID times, right? So maybe. I mean, Trump was president for half of that time, 2020 and 2019, and then Biden 2021 and 2022, and then 23. So I'm not even sure like what the point is here.
But it's okay. We could have different interpretations of it. That's not an issue at all. We certainly are against police abuse, and we've fought against it. I would argue at least as much as any show on the planet, and perhaps a lot more. And I take great pride that Benjamin Crump, among others, said that Trayvon Martin would not have gotten anywhere near the national coverage that he did if it wasn't for the Young Turks. So nevertheless, we could have disagreements about specific policy issues, and we do on slogans and framing, et cetera. For example, defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I guess so. For the record, I don't even think that those. All right. I don't think anybody is even arguing for what he thinks they're arguing for, though. With defund the police, the right-wing framing is people on the left want to eliminate the police force completely, get rid of it, and replace it with nothing, so that everybody is just like living their life and there won't be any police whatsoever in any shape or form. I don't know a single human being that believes that. I think the defund police perspective was police are a badge and a gun. Police represent force. They are there to force things to happen. And that's good sometimes, right? Like somebody is hitting their wife, force shows up to stop that from happening. There are good reasons for police to be around. But why would force be involved if we find out a step parent is abusing their step kid, like actually abusing the step kid? Why would force be a factor in dealing with like homeless people or whatever? It should be social workers, right? Shouldn't it be people who are qualified to handle these situations? That's what defund the police meant. It meant take money from the police budget and put it into social work so that those people, bring them into the department so that they can help deal with issues that, police officers might overreact to or jump the gun or whatever. Because, when a police officer is a little trigger happy, people die. When they had a bad day, people die. So maybe try to decrease the number of police and increase the number of social workers where we can, right? That's what defund the police meant. And Cenk, he seems to believe that defund the police meant get rid of police entirely. The problem isn't disagreements. It's the fact that you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. It's the fact that you are landing on conclusions based on nonsensical right-wing framing. And you'll see another example of that in a second. Now, the Latinx thing, I don't actually know a single human being who's in favor of saying Latinx. I've heard it a few times. I think it's stupid. Every Spanish speaker that I know thinks it's stupid because that's not how the language works. Okay, I'm learning German, and they have a gendered language. Like, tables are chicks or whatever, and chairs are dudes. I don't even remember now. But everything has a gender because that's how the language works. You've got the word die, that's feminine. Das, that's neuter. And der, I believe, is masculine. Or maybe I'm mixing those up. But anyway, I think that's right. You wouldn't take the word die, D-I-E, and just put an X on the end and say, well, this represents like all genders now. Dicks. That's not how it works. That's not how language works. That would make no sense in German, like at all. Nobody wants that. Nobody is advocating for that. Like I said, I've heard some poor fools say Latinx a few times. It's nonsense spread by people that don't know the language. So anyway, let's continue on. Sorry, a little detour for that one.
Defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community. And I certainly would never want to shut that down because we're, again, for open minds.
Sure, okay.
And of course, we've had some disagreements on the issue of transgender rights. Let me just say quickly what my position is, because a lot of people outside of the network have been misleading you about this. So I'm for 100% constitutional rights for transgender Americans because why? They're Americans, just like the rest of us, and they should have the same exact rights as us.
I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely.
They should be protected in bathrooms. They should definitely be allowed to serve in the military. And I happen to think that they should be allowed to play, transgender girls should be allowed to play in girls sports in high school. Now, my position on that is not overall.
And so here's the problem with what he's just laid out. He thinks that they should be allowed to compete in high school sports, but not in Olympic sports. The problem isn't that you won't take that extra step. It's that you fundamentally don't understand the argument. The situation is every reputable scientist in the world has determined, has studied and concluded, or every reputable scientist that has studied this subject has come to the conclusion through their research papers that after 2 years of HRT, the differences between people who were assigned female at birth and people who were assigned male at birth is like no different. There is no difference between the two after 2 years of HRT. And people can argue, well, organ size is different and, lung capacity is different, fast twitch muscle fibers and all that. No, not really. Not after 2 years of HRT. Not in any of the studies that have been done. You're just contradicting science. Now, there are some areas like, I think long distance running, there's zero difference. In chess or table tennis or whatever, obviously no difference. I think that there might be a slight difference in certain sports, and in those cases, I'm perfectly fine with going with what the league decides. But the problem is that Cenk assumes that there is a disparity. He assumes that trans people are stronger or have an unfair advantage otherwise in sports, incorrectly. That is the Republican framing. So the fact that he is offering an olive branch by saying they should be able to compete in high school sports, I don't give a I don't care if you're extending an olive branch. Why are you even agreeing to that? You shouldn't be agreeing to that if your position is they have an unfair advantage. It's only that he's trying to capitulate, obviously. It's like embarrassing and painful. I don't want you to meet me halfway and say they should be allowed to compete in high school sports. I want you to understand that there's no fundamental difference after 2 years of HRT. And if there is, we can examine those specific cases. I'm asking you to look at science rather than ideology. And he doesn't seem to get that. By the way, the reason I picked 2 years of HRT is because that is what the scientific studies say. After 2 years, there is fundamentally no difference in most cases. Endurance training, long distance running, and things like that.
Now, my position on that is not overall popular in the country. I understand that, and I have a strategy for hopefully how to win on that in the long run. But I don't believe that they should be mandated to play in college and professional level. I think the leagues should get to make those decisions on their own.
Yeah, I think leagues should be allowed to make those decisions, and they are. I mean, the IOC and the NCAA, is that what it is? They've decided that trans people are allowed to compete with, after 2 years of HRT or whatever, because they had scientists do research to figure out if there's a benefit.
I think that is a small disagreement. Obviously, others think that's a giant disagreement, but that's again not the issue here.
I don't think it's a giant disagreement. I think that you're looking at it through a right-wing lens. That's the issue, and incorrectly looking at it through a right-wing lens.
I think what the issue is when others, among the issues, is when others say only my opinion is the correct one, the moral one. Everyone who disagrees with me is unintelligent, immoral, collaborator, etc.
Well, I don't know that people are saying that, probably some, but I think the main issue is that you just don't understand and you refuse to understand. It's not about being immoral, it's about being incorrect.
We'll get to the specifics on Francesca in a second. I'm saying that generally. And that they speak for the left. Well, let's find out if they do speak for the left. This is a little bit of Francesca, a little bit of Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, and spliced in is the actual facts about what the American people think, and interestingly, what Democratic voters think. First, let's watch this.
So I don't know if TYT has a habit of putting up false information. I don't know. I'm not sure, maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me to find that the country has a hard right position on most of this stuff. So I don't know what he thinks he's trying to prove with this. But anyway, the point is that he banned Francesca Fiorentini. And I wanted to just listen to her reaction to this, see what she says. Check this out.
You know when you meet someone and they swear that all of their exes were psychos?
Absolutely, I do.
And then you slowly realize that, oh, wait, I'm talking to the person who was the problem in the relationship?
Yep.
Unrelatedly, the Young Turks. And I'm going to make this as brief as possible because there are a million far more important and pressing things going on right now as actual fascism. But to make it brief, Cenk Uygur, the head of TYT,
Dude, what are these subtitles?
recently hath forboten me from appearing on any TYT shows because, in part, I said that him capitulating to right-wing framing on many issues meant he was, quote, acting like...
I don't believe in name calling, actually, personally, and I try not to do that. Every now and then I get a little worked up and I call people names, but it's something that I work hard not to do, A. And B, she put it perfectly. She said,
I said that him capitulating to right-wing framing...
Capitulating to right-wing framing. That's the problem. That's the point. It's that he doesn't seem to understand the arguments at all. He views this from a right-wing perspective, or a white-wing perspective if you prefer, incorrectly. And as a result, makes all kinds of far-right assumptions about situations and tries to extend an olive branch. That is the only thing anchoring him to the left at all right now, it seems, is the fact that he's trying to reach an olive branch out to the left. It's like he's already like right-wing in a lot of ways, and he's just trying to hold on to his left-wing grip just a little bit. That's it.
On many issues meant he was, quote, acting like... And the truth is, he was, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But first, some backstory. So I have been a contractor at TYT for 10 years now, appearing on all of the shows as a fill-in host, as a guest host during election coverage, on the TYT main show, on the Damage Report, and on Indisputable, along with a lot of other shows.
Damage Report is with John Ideological. He was a main host on TYT for a long time, and that's whose show specifically she was banned from going on. John Ideological is an independent person that runs an independent show, but he's, I believe, paid by TYT every month to just run the show. So it's got, I don't know, 1 million subbies or somewhere in there. I have no clue. A lot. And it's his show, The Damage Report with John Ideological. But TYT is paying him a monthly salary rather than him getting paid from YouTube, from AdSense, is going into TYT. He would be a multi-millionaire right now, if not for the fact that he worked under TYT's umbrella. And as a result, she can't go on that show now.
Have always hopped on at the last minute, always helped out in a pinch. I guest host last minute, and yes, I was paid. And if you're watching this and you are a TYT contributor and you are not getting paid, stop going on TYT until you do.
Absolutely, 100%. Do not do anything for free, ever. You know another right-wing framing that really bothered me with Cenk when I first, started looking into this? He said he has 75 families to feed as a business owner. That bothers me so much. I can't stand it. You, as the capital owner, don't have 75 mouths to feed. Those 75 people have your mouth to feed. What are you contributing to all of this? Couple decisions here or there, some people, executing your will or whatever for the company, and how maybe you get some editing done in there somewhere. Those 75 people are contributing a hell of a lot more to the company than you are. Like when a landlord says this, what is a landlord really contributing to society? Nothing. They're sitting on their while I am working to pay them for nothing. I'm paying them because they own something. I'm paying them because they have money already, is what's happening. They are leeches on society. And you know what? I'm not opposed to home ownership. I'm not opposed to even renting. People need to rent homes. I'm okay with that. But don't frame it like you are providing for me. I am providing for you. Anyway, that bothers me a lot with Cenk. He's also fought unions with TYT a lot, and that's the very right-wing thing to do.
I've never been a full-time employee, never got healthcare, never got maternity leave when I had my child. But back in 2018, I was hired for a 6-month contract to pilot a show for $3,000 a month. Then,
Damn, that's good.
however, their funding bottomed out and I was let go. And they broke their contract. My reps at the time thought I should sue to get the full 6 months of payment and work that I was owed, but I didn't because I told them that TYT was good people and I wanted to maintain my relationship.
So she forwent her money to maintain this relationship. This is what companies do. This is what business owners do. No matter how left-wing, they tend to cut people's throats and step on their faces. And for that reason, there needs to be regulation to protect against that type of...
And I did. That is until things started to turn for TYT politically. And this started happening around the pandemic. Around the pandemic, Anna Kasparian seemed to become focused on the issue of homelessness, especially in a city that I used to call home, which is San Francisco. She had an objectively scary experience with an unhoused person, and in fact, I went back to see when she told her audience about this. And I do remember the day that Anna told the story on air. In fact, I was also on after she told that story.
Oh,
But I didn't hear it at the time. It was within an interview that she was doing with an author by the name of Michael Schellenberger, who had written the book San Francisco, Why Progressives Are Ruining Cities. Instead of focusing on housing market,
what, did they mute it because she said San Francisco? Is that what it was?
after she told that story, but I didn't hear it at the time. It was within an interview that she was doing with an author by the name of Michael Schellenberger, who had written the book San Francisco, Why
Yeah, I think San Francisco is what it seems like, right? Clever name.
Progressives Are Ruining Cities. Instead of focusing on housing market prices, on how homelessness often leads to things like addiction and mental illness, Schellenberger focuses on Democrats who thinks go too easy on the unhoused. I remember that I jumped onto the show right after he got off, after that interview, and the TYT audience was really pissed because they felt like the framing and the platforming of someone like Schellenberger was a disservice to the issue of homelessness, mental illness, and addiction. Anna apparently took that as the chat downplaying what happened to her rather than how the issues were presented. She's since gone on right-wing shows like Glenn Beck, Piers Morgan, and Jillian Michaels.
Again, like I have no issue with people on the left going on these shows, of course, and I'm sure Francesca doesn't either. It's just when those are the only shows you're going on and there's like no arguing going on, no disagreements to speak of, or very few. When you are trying to like build a bridge and find commonality, you're rehabilitating their reputation effectively among your audience, and that's doing a lot of damage, like a lot. And on top of that, you know, I would have a problem with that alone, but of course Anna is moving far right. She is on the right now, openly, effectively. I don't even think, I think she is open about saying, yes, I am right wing now. It's just sad.
Among others, to retell this story and use it as rationale for why she feels the left left her, that maybe she's never been left, why she's politically homeless, or, politically unhoused. Since then, she's gone on to cover critical stories from a right-wing framing, like the alleged takeovers of buildings by Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado, like the mentally...
Yeah, that was just a lie, I understand. I looked into this, and that was just like fabricated nonsense. I believe that the building was like this close to being condemned. In fact, I think it was condemned because it was such a mess, and the owner wasn't like taking care of anything or doing anything. And some dude, some criminal got moved into this little apartment there and wouldn't leave or something. I don't even know. Like that happens. That's not an indication of a systemic countrywide like takeover of criminal gang. Blah, blah, blah. It's just nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Like the alleged takeovers of buildings by Venezuelan gangs in Aurora, Colorado, like the mentally ill, undocumented man in Los Angeles who was found lighting fires, but who was not responsible for the wildfires themselves in January.
Yeah, these people on the right, particularly Anna, like to find exceptions and pretend that they are the rules. Like some random homeless guy lights a fire, and suddenly it's homeless people are responsible for all wildfires. Or the fire budget in one particular municipality is cut, but the overall fire budget for the surrounding area was raised. So you've got a net much higher firefighting budget, but they pick this one little municipality out and they say, well, look, they cut the fire budget. California cut the fire budget by all of this money, completely ignoring all of the money that it was raised by. The exception becomes the rule.
Throwing progressive mayors like Brandon Johnson of Chicago under the bus because he listens to teachers too much. Anna's actually really skilled at what she does, so the laziness with which she treats these stories really just stands out all the more. Let me give you some backstory, though, of Anna and my friendship. We've never been close, despite a hike,
Anyway, really fascinating stuff that, this is happening right now, and I'm disappointed as hell that Cenk Uygur is going down this ridiculous road. And I'm even more disappointed that he doesn't even seem to know what's wrong. He doesn't understand what people are even complaining about. He can't even begin to fix it because he has no clue. And it's how could you not know what's wrong here? How could you not know that trans people have no statistical advantage at all after 2 years of HRT, for example? How could you not know that? How could you not know what people meant when they said defund the police? Were you not listening? Do you have gummy bears in your ears? What's going on? Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. I'm really sad to see an ostensibly left-wing network go away.